Welcome again, folks, to another episode of Scale to Freedom, the place in which we actually talk about some individual ideas, some experiences that help you scale your business to become free. And we always say we know what freedom is about for each other. And what I mean for me, it is about doing what I want, when I want, how I want, and take my family with me. And today we're going to be talking about freedom with David Bush. Welcome, David, to the show, mate.
Hey, thanks, Cal. I'm excited to be here.
Mate, it's been great. I've been getting to know you just over these last few months. We got a bit of an introduction from a good mate of mine, Derek, and we've had some fun times already. But let's just get into it really closely, mate. David, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you've been up to in the past, and then we can get into a little bit about what you're doing with BDR.
Yeah, I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. My dad owned an auto body shop, and he was a big dreamer, liked to dream about having a life of freedom. And he wanted more control over time and money to do the things that he wanted to do. And he passed that along to us. So we learned how to cast a vision early on. And I had a desire that I wanted to play professional American football and decided to follow that dream and live that life and was able to achieve a high level of success in playing American football. Then got into sales, found out that I love to sell, but I even love more than that to be involved in business coaching. So I decided to start doing business coaching inside of my business and started helping other salespeople to become successful and helping other businesses to become successful. And that just blossomed into a 20-year career in business coaching and helping other business owners and entrepreneurs to scale to freedom in your terms. Just really understanding processes, systems, methodologies, all those things that I had learned in my own personal journey to become successful. I transferred those to others, and it was very well received. In 2024, my brother and I acquired a company called BDR.ai, which is business development rep, powered by AI, automation, and sequencing. And we knew that we needed to find more strategies to leverage AI to empower individuals to stay above the competition, because many others were going to start adopting AI and technologies and strategies to amplify their human efforts. And we decided to take on the opportunity. So we've been scaling BDR.ai since then in the same model that many of our listeners or viewers are wanting to scale to freedom. My brother and I are doing the exact same thing by helping others to do the same.
Mate, such a diverse sort of background. So let's get into it. So you're a coach for 20 years, but before that, you're American football. So you're obviously disciplined to get to an elite level. You've got to be disciplined. And I can imagine that some days you'll get out there on the football field and your coach will be telling you to go. And so tell us just a little bit of the experience. What have you drawn out of that football era that you've brought forward into the business?
Yeah. The first thing I could say is that playing American football professionally was my first sales job, because they didn't come after me and ask me to play. They weren't selling me on coming to their team. I wanted to play for them. And so I actually made a list of all of the American football teams, all the Canadian football teams, all the world football teams. So I just made a list of everybody that was paying people to play the sport. And I started dialing for dollars. I started reaching out to people, email, but I can't remember all the different technologies that were available 30 years ago. But that's how I got my start, is just dialing for dollars, building relationships, and being pleasantly persistent and adding value, showing where I could find a place. And a lot of that comes back to motivation, right? If you don't have a big enough dream and you don't have a big enough vision of what's possible, you will get burned out on the sacrifices and the challenge that comes in the scaling to freedom process. So I had a big dream, I had a big why, and that drove me to continue to show up and do more than what most people would do. And my first opportunity came where I did a really good job in the tryout, and they said, you know what, we don't need you right now, but we'll call you when we need you. And I offered to work for free. And I worked for free for 2 weeks. And then two of the guys that played my position went down. I got an opportunity to come in and play. And that taught me that showing up, doing all you can do. I like to say all you can do is all you can do. Nothing more, nothing less. All you can do. And if you want to scale to freedom, you got to be prepared to give it your all you can do. And that's what football taught me, is that if you continue to show up, you don't have to be the most talented, you don't have to be the most gifted. You can be the person that shows up giving their all day in and day out. And you can beat a lot of the competition that maybe is more talented, more experienced, whatever the advantage that they may have. You can actually be more competitively advantaged just in your effort and your consistency.
That is a great understanding. What I've already met about you, and we've been talking for a while, that's exactly how you come across. So I can imagine when you're in those sales calls, you're given every single person, and I appreciate it when we're talking. And we've got some stuff we're going to be sharing a little bit later on about what we're putting together, which is really exciting. But every time we come together, you bring your all every single time. And it shows. And obviously, it's come from your dad, it's come from that whole football journey. And you took that into 20 years of business coaching. So tell us about that transition into become a business coach. So, what sort of businesses were you in prior to actually becoming a business coach?
Yeah, I owned a home mortgage company. We had 17 offices in 3 different states, and we did home mortgage purchases on new homes, refinances. And I wasn't really good at math. That was one of my weaknesses, but I was really good at building relationships, building rapport, finding out what other people wanted, and then helping to get that and not allowing anything to get in my way, embracing the obstacle as the way, and just continuing to deliver extraordinary customer service, making people say, wow. So I wasn't necessarily the most knowledgeable financial expert, but because I was a person that listened and asked questions skillfully and listened carefully, I ended up doing extremely well. And that led me to management positions and then an ownership position. And I took the risk of scaling the business, and it turned out to be very successful. And then my scale to freedom strategy was that I wanted to do what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, and how I wanted to do it. So I started doing business coaching using some of the principles that had made me who I was. I didn't go to coaching school. I went to the school of hard knocks. I proved
Yeah.
out some principles and methodologies. And then I've just been a constant learner where I've read and listened to a tremendous amount of business coaching books and leadership books, and just have taken those principles, applied them to my own life, and did all I could do with all I had, and then showed other people how to do the same. And people are more capable than they think they are of scaling to freedom. And if you have ever doubted yourself, if you have some limiting beliefs, just remember that the word beliefs has the word lie right in the middle, BELIEFS. And if you choose to believe in the lies that says that you can't do it, you're not good enough to do it, then you are lying to yourself. You need to go back to the facts. Have other people that are less qualified, that are less well funded, have they done it? And if the answer is yes, which the answer is yes, the truth will set you free to do the things that you really want to do. So that's just the messaging that I like to share with others. A lot of the stuff that I coached other people on, it was not new. People need to be reminded more than they need to be taught something new. People need to be reminded of their why. They need to be reminded of the power of their mindset. They need to be reminded that scaling to freedom is a matter of skill sets. You adopt certain skill sets, you stay motivated, you stay positive in the growth mindset, and then your calendar needs to match your goal. And when you do those things, you will scale to freedom. It is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you will scale to freedom. And all that comes back to, does your calendar match your dream and your goals?
Mate, folks, I'm going to encourage you right now to push pause, do a little rewind, and listen to that last little phrase. What David has just given you is an absolute nugget to understand that you can do it. All right. You give your all, you get your mindset, you get that thinking clear. And once you marry up your calendar to your dream and your goal, it's inevitable. That is the success factor. That is what it takes to have success, is just to keep focused on the goal and get your thinking right. Mate, I love that. So tell us, in this coaching career, all right, so 20 years of it, you've come across probably a couple of people who did believe in the lie. They believed, they didn't think they could achieve that. What are some of the key factors that you've actually introduced and helped them through that changes that story in their life?
I think the big part comes back to what are they choosing to do? Because the word life has the word if right in the very middle.
Mm.
And if they don't have a strong belief system in what it is they're setting out to do, if they're not clear on what freedom looks like, what it feels like, a confused mind does nothing. So we could talk about the word scale to freedom until we're blue in the face, but until somebody embraces it and envisions it, and Henry David Thoreau, the great author, said, have you built your castles in the sky? Good. That's where they should be. Freedom is up in the sky, in the clouds somewhere. Now you got to build the foundations underneath it. And when people don't have that clarity, focus precedes success. If you don't focus on what freedom looks like, it doesn't make a difference what Kel and I share with you today. If you're not clear on what it looks like and when you want it, if you haven't set a deadline, it's not that hard. Don't overcomplicate this. Don't make a 16-page business plan. Just get clear on what does freedom look like specifically. And it doesn't have to be endless opportunistic freedom. It could just be freedom from a certain set of things that you don't like. Maybe it's freedom from debt or freedom from fear or freedom from whatever it is that you have been bound and chained down by certain things that are weighing you down. Get clarity on what freedom looks like. Write down a sheet of paper and just put bullet points and say, this is how I define freedom. And when you get clear on what that looks like, and you make a decision to go after it, there's nothing that can stop a made up mind. Once you make up your mind to say, that's what I'm going to do, and that's when I'm going to do it, then everything else begins to fall in line. And if your calendar doesn't match your goals, then you aren't committed to it, right? You're committed to the results that you get. You're not committed to the goal. You're committed to the results that you get. So if right now you're not living in freedom, it's because you have not committed to creating freedom. That's my experience personally. There are tough times, there's sacrifices, there's hardships, but if you're committed to freedom, then you're in the process of gaining freedom.
Oh, mate, I'm getting a bit of a shiver here, to tell you the truth, because I've got a couple of years on you. It was a struggle, some of my life, and we all hit the barrier. We all hit barriers in life. But when you say, no, this is what I'm going after, and quite an interesting story, folks. One of the triggers, one of the things for me was I had a father who was very businesslike and very much the entrepreneur. However, he was a collar and tie, an old-fashioned collar and tie. So if you're a businessman, you've got a collar and tie. And I had to break that model in my head, which is why I wear Hawaiian type shirts. All right. That symbolizes to me every time I go on a Zoom meeting, walk past a mirror or whatever, I always wear something that looks like that I'm actually free. It doesn't strangle me with a tie. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to wear. But for me, that was the essence of freedom. And so I think it's important to know exactly what your mind is saying about that.
I like the quote from the author Mark Twain that said, it's not what you know that gets you into trouble. It's all the things that you know for absolute certain that just aren't. And so many people are committed to limiting beliefs. They're committed to doubts. They're committed to fear. They're committed to all these things that will rob them from freedom. And even though they may show up and watch the webinars and the podcasts and all that kind of stuff, they haven't committed to the actual concept of creating freedom, scaling to freedom, doing the work that's required to get to freedom. It takes work. It's an opportunity disguised as work. And so we have to go out there and do the work. And we have great tools and resources and mentorship that can help us to do the work better, faster, and more efficiently. But it's not about that. It's about your decision to leveraging those tools and actually doing the work that matters, not the work that is scrolling and watching videos. It's actually doing the hard things, like asking people for an opportunity and following up with those people and having systems in place that do that on your behalf is just one strategy of helping you to do it, but it's not the only thing you do.
That's exactly right. That's music to my ears, hearing what you're saying here, because what you're saying is get that thinking right. Stop looking for the next tool that's going to solve your problem, because typically the problem is up here. If you can't get that right first, you can't let your calendar actually dictate and show you and mimic what your dream is. That's your thinking right. Then the tools, you look for the tools that's going to suit that job and the team. And so it's a really important factor that we've got to stop looking at a tool to be a solution and get our thinking. However, let's just flip that for a second, because we are here, like the owner of BDR, and it's an amazing tool, folks. We really wanted to get in a look at this thing. David's going to tell us a little bit about it, but we're going to be having a webinar, as I said, a little bit later on. But that journey into that technology world. So you've come out of a coaching world, you've seen a gap in the market with AI coming in. Tell us a little bit about that transition from out of coaching into being a technology company.
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges with anyone that I coached in the entrepreneur realm was the business development side. Many people just they know that they need to do business development, but what happens is they don't do it. Or they do it, but they do it inconsistently, and so they don't get the benefits of doing it because it's so inconsistent. It doesn't catch fire, doesn't catch rhythm. And so when we went out there to look for a business to buy, we were looking for a business that could help people with business development because we knew that was a major pain and a major problem for so many different business owners. And so many people get up in the morning and they go to work on their dream, their freedom, based on how they feel. And their work ethic is directly connected to their emotions and their feelings, not to processes, not to systems, not to what's required to achieve freedom, but it's how do they feel that particular day. And so we felt if we could solve that problem and we could actually help them to create more structure, to create more systems, to create more solutions, to do the work that matters to their growth and their development of their business, we would end up having something special. So that's exactly what we did is when we found BDR.ai, we actually used the platform ourselves. We saw how well it worked, and then we saw that we could end up scaling it and helping a lot of other people to do it. And that's exactly what we've done over the last 2 years. And the concept is simple. What is it that you want to create? You want to create relationships, right? Not everybody in your world and your target market is ready for what it is that you have to offer. Some aren't. So how do you follow through with all those people? You have structure and you have systems. You can do a lot of things manually. You can go out there and send 100 to 200 connection requests on LinkedIn every single week. 100 to 200 connection requests. If you got a 25% acceptance rate, you would end up potentially having 100 to 200 new connections every single month on LinkedIn if you sent out 100 to 200 connection requests a week. What's the challenge with that? You don't. And even if you do, you probably don't know where those people are after they accept the connection request because you don't have a system for following up and following through. What if you had a system for every time the person accepted your connection request, within a time frame, you sent a follow-up message that was relational, that was complimentary, and you shared what it is that you do, and you offered them a resource or offered them something to help them in whatever capacity you can help them without charging them any revenue, without asking them to do something that's risky or hard, and you sent a follow-up message to them. But it wasn't dependent upon you remembering to do it, or it wasn't dependent upon how you felt that particular day. It just happened. And then it did a whole bunch of other activities, like 100 to 200 activities that are business development related every single day. Because you said, this is what I want to do with these specific people that I want to do it with that match my target market. And I want it to happen consistently. Anytime those people that you're reaching out to actually responded to you, now there's no more automation or technology. Now the relationship has been created, the conversation's been created. And what I found, Kel, is that many people don't have a problem with work ethic. It's just specific things around work, like the fear of reaching out to somebody, the fear of what are they going to say if I send a follow-up message? So what if you could take all the things that you're erratic or inconsistent with, and you could build it around automation? You could use AI so that it creates personalization at scale, and you could manage it with a high-tech, high-touch relationship. 1 to 2 hours a week, you could check in, make sure that it was communicating, make sure it was doing what you wanted to do. And now you're spending your time focusing in on deepening relationships with the people that have already engaged, past clients, current clients, referral partners, while your top of funnel is being done for you with a system. That's the structure of it all, big picture.
Right. And as I said, folks, BDR.ai is the place to go. And it is one of the most powerful tools that I've seen. I've seen a lot of tech. I've been in technology for too long, 30 plus years in the technology space. And this is by far the best I've seen. And what's unique about BDR.ai is what you said is your journey into it. You knew what you were looking for, and you found the piece of technology that matched your personality, your driver, your focus, what you've seen as freedom. And really important, you said you got something you knew you could actually use and sell that would help other people, which is who you are. Your DNA is about how do I help? and how do you give it all? And that's the piece of technology you found and brought to the world. And it's been a real pleasure seeing that. David, look, it's been awesome having you here on the show. And I must say, folks, we are going to have David back. We're going to actually put on some webinars and go a little bit deeper into what BDR.ai is all about, how it works, what it works for you. So there will be a link below here. Scale2freedom.biz is the website. If you want a podcast, you can go to scale2freedom.biz and look up for David Bush's, and we'll actually have the episode in there. And there will be a link there to register for the webinar in a couple of weeks' time, depending on when you're listening to this podcast. And there may already be a link there to be able to ask for a copy of the replay as well when it comes time. So, David, it's been a pleasure having you here, mate. Just tell people, if they want to get in contact with you personally, how do they get in contact with you, mate?
Best place is BDR.ai. Hit the contact button, it'll get back to me. Or you can email me at david@bdr.ai. And if you are really, truly committed to scaling to freedom and you want more freedom from business development tasks and some of the follow-up strategies, we'd love to have a conversation with you. Be sure to plug into the webinar that Kel and I are going to be doing, and let's see how we can scale to freedom together.
Yeah, sounds great. It's been a pleasure, David. I look forward to doing that webinar with you very soon. And folks, that's all for another episode here of Scale to Freedom, the place where you come to get your thinking right, to get the tools and get the team to create the freedom that you desire for yourself. Until next time, bye for now.
You hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I've pushed this forward a little bit, so I'm going to get them to. We always launch an episode on a Tuesday morning, so we'll launch this episode for next Tuesday. By then, we've got the link, put the link in to register for the webinar, so that anybody who does listen to the podcast will be able to go in there. Obviously, we'll tell you. I'm not sure. I've got you. Have I actually connected with you on LinkedIn yet? That's a good question.
I believe so. Let me just go check.
That'd be funny, wouldn't it? Here we are talking about all this. How do you connect up?
Yeah, we're connected.
Yeah, we're connected. Cool. All right. I'll also reach out. You're on Facebook as well, because we put it across all the channels. Yep. You on.
Yeah.
So I'll reach out and get my guys to reach out and connect up. So we do it. You'll get an email with the assets. So you'll have this section. There's generally about 5 to 6 clips, the little miniature clips we use for reels. Just goes in there, catches a couple of the key phrases. Basically, it's the same thing as what Joey Rogan does for his podcast. 6 clips all pointing back to the one spot. It's all fairly straightforward from there. All
Hey,
right.
just real quick on the BDR side. So typically what I do when I do these webinar promotions is that I have this first degree connection campaign, and then I have a second degree connection campaign, and then the third campaign is more of a follow-up campaign where I'm following up with people that showed interest in the LinkedIn event. So just as an example here, let me just pull up a current client that I know has a similar structure. So I'm doing this webinar next week with this client.
Oh, mate, you've got the same problem with me. Too many tabs open and on Zoom.
Yeah. So here's the 3 campaigns. This is the webinar promotional first degree. So he sourced the list of people that were in his first degree connections.
Yep.
And then the messaging is fairly simple. So it starts off with, hey, did you see this invite to this upcoming webinar I'm doing on this date, this time? Here's the topic. Here's the LinkedIn event, which then puts a preview of the event in the messenger or in the direct message.
Nice.
And then it says, is this a topic you'd be interested in? Here's what I'm going to share. Here's the link to register to receive the login link and the recording and all the bonus resources.
Yep.
And then it does this, view the profile, and then it sends the invitation. And then it follows up 3 days later and says, did you get registered for the webinar? It likes their last 3 posts 4 days after that. And then this is after the webinar is done. It sends them this, and then it asks them if they want the recording. And then we can add additional messages as a follow-up after that. If they never respond, then you can send the recording to them and ask them for their feedback. But that's the first degree connection campaign. And then the second degree connection campaign is similar, but it's more relational. And then it just says, hey, based on your profile, I thought you might be interested in this webinar I'm doing. So then it's taking people from connection to conversation to invitation to follow-up.
Yes.
And then this is the campaign that's specifically for the people that show interest in the LinkedIn event. So this link right here is the event link. And everybody that accepts the LinkedIn event or the LinkedIn invitation shows up in this list right here. So these 136 people that accepted the invitation, they're in this campaign. So if they're not connected to this particular guy, then it says, hey, I saw you were interested in this event. Let's connect. And then it sends them the invitation with a reminder about the event and encourages them to register, reminds them about registering. And then after the event, we send them the link to the recording as a follow-up strategy. So that's what I would be doing here with your campaign if you want to do it that way. I don't know who these people are, but that's typically the way that I would do it. So I can set up the LinkedIn event and use the registration link that you had created. Nothing has happened with these campaigns because we have this little 30-day hold.
Yep.
So that nothing happens for 30 days. So
Yes.
I would take this off once we had the invitation and the messaging correct.
Yes.
So as far as you're concerned, is that the way that you would like to do it?
I friggin' love that idea.
Okay.
Love that.
All right, go in there and I'll update the messaging and then I'll put it in the Slack channel when I have it the way that I would do it.
Yeah.
And then if you want to make changes to it, otherwise, if you say, no, it looks good, let's go, then
Yeah.
I'll remove those 30-day holds and then it'll start sending the messaging out.
I'm all for that. I know my thing, but I would actually like to do it your way, just because I know, like, I don't generally get lots. I don't get lots, but I might get 30 to 50, attendees, maybe 150, 100 registered, and,
Yeah.
25, 30% roll up rate.
Yeah.
But let's go with your system. Then there's two things around that, because we can literally say on the webinar, all right, if that's the only way we do it, we can actually say, hey, how you actually perform this was all done by BDR. Why I'm saying that now, rather than just going down and doing my old thing, let me try something new. The experience I had going back a while ago, I moved over to a thing called My CRM Sim. It's the ability where you get your mobile phone and you can piggyback your mobile phone SMS system through GHL. Okay. And so what I did was, because text messaging can be quite expensive, but what I did is I really gave the text messaging a real bashing when I was actually launching the My CRM Sim webinar. And so my roll-up rate went from about that 25 to 30% at best. I got like an 80-odd% roll-up rate. It was incredible roll-up rate, okay?
Wow.
But what was really interesting is, because we had everybody's face on the actual webinar, you could see the amount of people who are on a mobile phone because of the different profile pics. And I just said, hey, can you guys give me an indication if you turned up purely simply because you got an SMS within the last hour reminding you to turn up? And of the people on there, like 90% of them said that they turned up purely and simply because they got the SMS. The amount of people that then bought the package straight after that was phenomenal, because we demonstrated to them that it actually worked and they could see it in front of their eyes.
We could definitely show them the campaign and we can show them your platform just to show, hey, Kel's using it and this is how he used it and this is the process and what it looks like.
I think that would be towards the end, when you go through those questions, I think that would be the genius part at the end, just to not just say, hey, we've done it our old-fashioned way of emails and all that type of stuff, and just say, look, this is the result of a campaign that went for X amount of days to X amount of people to get this many people turned up, and you're a part of this experiment, whatever you like, won't call it an experiment. This is just this is how it's done. Yeah, because I can then set up the recordings and everything on an evergreen system and just run it out, and then I can put that as an evergreen going through the database.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Get set up, and it also, what it will do from my perspective, I don't expect you to get it done today, but when I get my team in to my platform and I show them, okay, this is how we're going to do our webinar from now on, this is how you do it for a team. This is how we do just first degree normal sort of stuff. I really just think it's a game changer, really do. And I got my stats here today. It was quite funny. I got this through today, and I went, oh bugger. Here's 4 hours, 5 comments, 3 replies, 32 connection requests, which was that's not a bad effort. 5 DMs and 15 follow-ups.
What does a follow-up consist of?
A follow-up is that somebody's sent a response and then he's tailored a message to them, which is because it's all manual. It's 100% manual.
Yeah.
But that's 4 hours worth of work. And now, until I talked to you, I thought that was pretty good stats.
Let me show you on mine what it looks like just for comparison purposes. So this is not my account. This is the guy that we're doing for the webinar. So once you get over 200, the system stops. That's why there's some zeros in here. This one is just starting. He has operating hours where his system is working from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. so that it mimics human behavior. But if you look at so this is 34 connection requests, 31 LinkedIn messages, 51 viewed profiles, 27 followed profiles, 2 invites, 30 new connections that accepted. He got 10 replies and 31 total incoming messages on this particular day.
Yeah.
So just for comparison purposes, that's a pretty productive day.
Yeah.
10 replied profiles is 10 people actually replied, but 31 messages were received. So that means that they could have replied previously, and then they're sending another follow-up message. So it's messages back and forth. But yeah, just to show you from a month standpoint. So he sent out 812 connection requests, 344. So do the math on some of that. Profile views, 284 people replied, and he got 557 incoming messages, and he had 579 people that accepted his connection requests.
So how many invites was there? How many invites did he send?
182. The system only sends out, like this here, it sent out 36 in one particular day. I'd have to go back in there and find out why it's only sending out this many. We have to go back and look at the settings to make sure that the account limits. Yeah, you can change these invites up.
Yeah.
So that you can have more activity. You can also change the messaging so you can send out more messages. If your account is used to higher volume, you can increase the messages and send out more.
Okay. And so they're all got the part I'm still learning, obviously. So once you've got the invite done and you got the 150, 200 people, then you can be saying, hey, you've accepted the invite. Did you actually register? Have you got any API that comes back to Zoom and it can see and check off if the person's actually registered in Zoom, etc.?
No, it's still pretty manual process.
Okay. That's okay.
But the thing that I'm focusing in on, Kel, is that I try to tell people, I don't even focus in on who's actually live because I don't really care. I'm more interested in, are you interested in this topic? Once I know you're interested in that topic, I'm going to send you the recording and I'm going to offer you more opportunities, but I'm going to be moving you to a next step that's going to be not watch the webinar. I'll give you the webinar if that's what you're really interested in, but I'm trying to move them to, if you're interested in this topic, let me talk to you about this. The webinar is just a little bit more of that time-sensitive invitation to see if you're interested in this topic.
It's the teaser, isn't it?
Most people don't want to watch a webinar. They want a solution. All right, I got to bounce out to another meeting. I'll send a message in Slack as soon as I'm done with updating the campaigns, okay?
Not a worry at all. And then we just got to, between now and then, we'll miss next week. And then we'll probably catch up in a fortnight's time. And then I should have a landing page built for the sales side of things. We'll do a conversation. Then we can work out some minor details on how we go about that. Okay.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. See you.
David. Appreciate it, buddy.
Bye-bye. See you.